Working on 2007 Jeep Commander, and I'm going to change out the rack and pinion. And so originally we thought it was the inner and outer tie rod end, because it was clicking on the driver's side. When you turn the wheel, you'd hear this click. And one of these tie rod ends, like in this one here, if you move that knuckle around in there, there is kind of like a click in there, but that was not the problem. It's deeper inside the rack and pinion here, so we got to change that out. And first, I guess what you're gonna need to do is, once you get your vehicle all lifted up, blocked up to get under there and everything, you're going to disconnect your steering off of the steering drive here. The new one did not come with the hydraulic lines that connect into here. So one here, and those lines run along, and then they connect into here. Back here, there's two. If you take this off, there's these two holes here with some O-rings in there. You might have to change that if it didn't come with those. So you disconnect your steering off the top, you disconnect your hydraulic lines coming in, and you're going to disconnect your outer tie rod ends from the steering knuckle. And once you got all that ready to go, it'll be a matter of unbolting the rack and pinion itself from the frame. What I did was I removed the inner and outer tie rod end here. Now it does have a couple flats on there, but if you want to call those useful, I don't know. So I just used a pipe wrench, and I removed both of those on either side. You got your inner outer tie rod end assemblies put together. You'll take that measurement from the old one, from here to the center of this one, and then you'll just make it that length, and you'll have a jam nut in here that locks it into place. So I use anti-seize. I put anti-seize on here, get that measurement, lock nut holds it, and then on this end we like to use some blue thread locker. And when you're assembling this, so you want to put your rod through the boot, and then you're going to assemble that, get your dimension. So just kind of get that out of the way, measure, make your measurement, and get that dimension. And then now this is ready to be installed. Once you've got that rack and pinion in, you're going to install these on either end. And then you know, if you choose not to use this metal band here, you can use a couple of zip ties, because once you've got this installed, this is going to be a pain to try and deal with, because it's inside that recessed pocket of the frame there. So you know, easier to use a couple of zip ties, pull them tight, cut off the ends that are hanging there, and then yeah, so get your you want to get your rack and pinion in place. Then you're going to install these, and then once these are installed, then you got your final bolting this into place, and then hooking everything back up. You'll have your hydraulic lines there. You'll have your steering U-joint that bolts into the top there, and then you've installed these already, so you're going to be installing those into the steering knuckle, and the rest is just that little extra that you had to remove, that drip tray for the oil filter. Reassemble that, and everything should be good. I'm going to change this rack and pinion. Try and show you. I can't reach down there, but you can see the universal joint for the steering. There's a bolt in there. You'll disconnect that bolt and pull that off. You'll disconnect those two hydraulic lines, and then there is this drip tray for the oil filter.
you're going to want to remove that too. There's a bolt right there, and then when you get underneath, there's going to be another bolt, maybe 2 bolts holding in the second bracket down there. Down here on the side, we've got our inner and outer tie rod end. So you remove the locking pin there and the castle nut, and you'll pop this out, and we want to leave this, or I leave this to maintain my length. So when I assemble the new inner and outer tie rod end, I just copy that measurement there. So then inside here, you will remove your clip that's holding the boot, and this one here. You'll pull this boot down, and once you've got this disconnected, then you can get in there and you can spin this out. It's not going to come out right now because you can't get nothing in here, but we're going to prep it for when we disconnect it from the frame, and then we can slide it this way, and we could get the wrench or the pipe wrench in here to start spinning that out. Up underneath here, this is that other bolt, and there's the other one that we seen from the top for the drip tray. So there's one here to remove, and if we get on this side, there'll be one here to remove. So there's 3 bolts. Remove that oil filter drip tray out of the way. You'll likely also have to remove these bolts as well. So you can move this hose out of the way so you can get that out of there. And then these here are going to be our bolts that are holding in our rack and pinion. Once we have everything all disconnected, we can remove these bolts to remove the rack and pinion. And this is the passenger side, and it's supposed to go out through this hole on the passenger side. It's not going to go out that hole. It goes as far as this, and then that's not going to, this and this is not going to let it go through that hole. So what we got to do is, when it's in there, when it's in there like this and we're moving it towards the passenger side, we will have to basically rotate this thing. Like when I went to install the new one, I had it in like this, upside down. I take that end and I shove it in through the passenger side, and then I take this end and I got to angle it in and towards the front, and then that's when I can manipulate this thing to its proper orientation like this, and then I'm driving it back in to the passenger side and then back in this way to line it all up and bolt it in. Now, to get a little extra room to do this, to get that rack and pinion in, you want to remove this bracket here, and that's holding your front differential. And so you can remove this bracket. There's bolt there, these 3 here, and it's still being held in place up there, and that's just going to give you, and it's bolted there as well, and that's going to give you a little more wiggle room to get your rack and pinion in. So you start, when you send it to the passenger side, you're going to rotate it to like 180 degrees, so it's kind of like upside down. Then you're going to send it that way, past these hoses and everything. Might they'll be in the way and everything, but you can make it happen. and then get it in there, and then this end is going to drop out here. It's going to drop out here, and then you're gonna pull it out here, down, and it's not too bad once you kind of figure it out, and it's not that bad of a deal. But before we get to that point, we need to remove our tie rod ends here. So just before that, we're going to move the rack and pinion to the passenger side. We get our pipe wrench. We're going to pull that arm off of there. I'm going to do the same side for the driver's side over here. We're going to move to the driver's side just enough to get our pipe wrench in and take these out. Once these are taken out, then you'll be able to remove this rack and pinion, by that method.